This episode of the ABIC Podcast is brought to you by Timely. Hello and welcome to the ABIC Podcast, your online support community for the aesthetic and beauty industry. Here, we're strengthening and unifying the industry through representation, innovation, and education. This is a platform created and dedicated to the aesthetic and beauty industry, valuing unity and advancement. We serve to represent, support, and inspire you by connecting you with industry experts, expanding your knowledge through educational pieces, and bringing you the latest industry news. This is the ABIC Podcast. Time, purpose, performance. In an industry that never stops moving, how do we slow down enough to lead with clarity, work with intention, and build success that actually feels sustainable? In this episode of the ABIC Podcast, we're exploring how aesthetic professionals can reclaim their time, redefine what success really means, and lead from a place of purpose, not pressure. Joining us is powerhouse Sherri Ponisi, a passionate industry leader with over 20 years in hair and beauty, wellness, education, and tech. From behind the chair to the front lines of innovation, Sherri knows what it takes to streamline the chaos and reconnect with what matters most. We'll also be deep diving into how Timely isn't just software. It's a smart, silent business partner that helps you make space for the things that move the needle: clarity, creativity, and meaningful connection. If you're ready to shift from hustle to harmony, this one's for you. Hello, Sherri. Welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I've got the heater going because it's so cold in Melbourne.
It is freezing, you're right. I have my shawl, my heater on my feet, and I'm ready to have the best podcast ever, because this podcast, everyone who's listening, it's for you, it's for me, it's for everyone right now that's, always in this go mode, to see how can we better use our time and how can we avoid burnout. But before we do start, Sherri, please tell us, before we talk tech, what actually drew you personally to this industry? Like, what was your why in the beginning, and how has it really evolved now?
Such a great question. I mean, I have been in the hair industry for 20 years. So that's where I began my journey. And I actually had parents who didn't really want me to be a hairdresser, funny enough, and were kind of like, you're never going to make money, and it's not really an industry that's going to allow you to, they were just wanted me to go to uni, like really old school parents that would just really go to uni, that traditional kind of approach. And I had to make a bet with them. And my bet was I had to finish year 12, get an enter score so that if I didn't like hairdressing, I could then go to uni. Began my apprenticeship, and the reason why I really wanted to begin that apprenticeship because I was obsessed with how people looked. Like, I had this thing where like people just look so glamorous when they would go to work, and I love dressing up, and my mum was just always one of those really bougie ladies that was just always dressed up as well. So that's really why I wanted to enter. I wanted to get dressed up every day and go to work. And so yeah, my career kind of evolved from there. I did my apprenticeship, I traveled, I worked in a lot of salons too that also had like hair and beauty. And it was always so nice to be part of salons that actually offered both services. And I always loved learning from the beauty girls as well. And I feel like too, the industry's changed a lot, which I'm sure we'll unpack, but when I was doing it, we always had a beauty room. There was always a hairdresser, and it was like a full service salon. And I used to also be obsessed with how the beauty therapists knew so much about science. And hairdressers learn a lot about science too, but we don't really talk about it, and we don't always look at the scalp like it is skin, which it is. But the beauty therapists were always so good at that. And I used to love how they would talk about the skincare. And so, yeah, always looking back on that journey, I loved being part of that. And yeah, I own salons. I then managed a really large group of salons as a group manager and lived in Sydney, and then kind of moved into like product company and sales, and now I've found my feet at Timely. And I was a Timely customer too when I had my salon. So I've always had this like really soft spot. And I think when I look at all the brands I've ever worked for or done things, it's always had like I've either worked for them in a salon, in a business, and then gone out on the other side. So there's always been like a really nice story that's kind of attached to any of the brands that I've kind of aligned myself with. And
It is like that in our industry. You end up being passionate about a brand that you use or partnering with, and you're like, I actually really love what they do and I have a connection and I want to know more. When an opportunity comes up, you're like, well, I'm going to explore this. And then some beautiful, magical things can happen. I've heard some great stories about, wonderful career progression and finding their purpose within brands and suppliers within our industry. So it's a good story.
it is, and I think it just comes from that authentic place. Like if you've genuinely worked with something, had your hands on it, you kind of just know it back to front. And I think in a world we're living in, like authenticity is like needed more than ever before. We've always needed it, but when we're more disconnected in terms of like, we have more meetings through Zoom, and we're less like together. That when you can really come from a heart-led place and an authentic place when you're talking about something, it outweighs anything else ever, I believe.
I love what you're saying. I listened to a podcast. I think it was the Diary of CEO podcast because I am obsessed with that particular.
Oh, am I?
Yes, I think everyone is at the moment. And they were talking about the disconnect that we don't actually spend a lot of time with our colleagues in person now. And of course, if you're in a salon or a clinic, that probably isn't you, but there are a lot of solo operators out there that we're talking to who, talk to their clients, but they're giving a lot of energy away talking to their clients, but they're not getting energy back from their colleagues, because that's usually what the colleagues are there to do, is to, ramp you up, to make you feel great at work as well, and to be a team. And there's a lot of loneliness going on. And you were talking about science, you're talking about beauty, really embracing beauty, medical aesthetics, really embracing the science in what we do in aesthetics and beauty. So let's talk a little bit about neuroscience, because you are a bit of an expert here. And I know every time we talk about this, you give me some incredible gems of wisdom. You know a lot about the brain and mindfulness. You actually teach it, I believe.
Yes.
What actually happens to the brain and body when we are in this go mode all the time without strategic pause? And when I say without strategic pause, I mean we pause, but is it useful pausing that replenishes you, or is it just collapsing in a heap? Can you tell us a little bit about the background there?
I also saw a quote the other day that said that we are more connected than ever, yet more disconnected. And Esther Perel shared something. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with her, but she is a relationship psychotherapist. And she said that we have all these connections in the world, but we don't have anyone to look after our cat.
Oh, that is so true.
And it's so true, right? So it's like we have all these like likes and friends online and followers and all these things, but we don't have like the true connection. And so ever since I heard that quote, I'm really conscious of also getting out and just getting more in front of people and like really building like actual friendships and connections and people that you can rely on, because it's true. If we can think about that for a moment, do we have anyone we could call last minute? Like we might have family, but like, that may only be a handful, but like we really have to think about that in the world that we're living in, that's becoming a little bit more disconnected. And our hair and beauty therapists in our world, like they hold the magic to like building these connections as well, because you're making people feel good. You're in a room, you're connecting with people. So there's like this true superpower that our industry really have. And so if you're, ever doubting yourself in those things, like you literally have these superpowers, and, connection is so important. And without the connection, that also increases like these cortisol that we also have in our bodies, which is increased stress, right? And we really have to be conscious of the amount of cortisol that is going into our bodies, right? And there's healthy sides that we need, like in the morning as soon as we wake up, we have cortisol that's actually getting us up and getting us out of bed and getting us going, right? But it's making sure that we don't have those long periods that are kind of sitting in our bodies that then tie us over to the evening, right? We don't want to have the cortisol in the evening because that's our times that we need to like wind down. And, you know, I am very passionate about the breath and how the breath can make such an impact on how our brain and our bodies respond. And I outside of my role, I spend a lot of time working closely with people and their breath. And you know, we have a natural state of where our nervous system needs to be at. And, you know, coherence breathing, which is where we breathe in for 5 and we breathe out for 5, that's actually our natural state of where our breath should be and our natural state of like our nervous system. So when we're feeling like we're, I guess, in our brains and we might be feeling a state of overwhelm or we may feel a state of stress, especially working with clients, right? We take on their emotion, we get involved in their dramatic conversations. You know, if someone's telling you a story, I'm the worst because I get so invested, but like someone's telling you a story and you're getting that huge exchange of energy and you're so invested, you take that on, right? And so really understanding that you're taking that on, you got to let go of that.
Right.
So we have to take those moments of pause. And that's just bringing our breath. And we literally like 5 minutes of like coherence breathing can actually lower cortisol up to 20% in that moment, in that 5 minutes. So think about if you took the opportunity to do a longer period of time, what that would actually do to our bodies. But if you just take those 5 minutes, we can literally change that neurochemistry in our brains and our bodies. To lower that cortisol. Yeah.
That's brilliant. So that's what you mean about strategic pausing.
Correct.
So strategic pausing is something I'd heard it before, but I didn't know what it really meant. So it means taking time to not just rest, but to do mindfulness practices. And coherent breathing is one of them. I also heard about power posing. Have you heard about this? Amy Cuddy. She did a TED talk and she says, do a power pose for 2 minutes. You put your hands on your hips and you do like a Superman pose. And apparently that lowers cortisol levels as well. So, you know, there are strategic tools out there that you can use to hack, if you will, that state of peacefulness or that state of, you know, as you call it, rest or that normal point that you have in your, what did you call it?
Oh, the coherence breathing, which is our nervous system's most optimal type of breathing when we want to get our nervous system at like an optimal state. What happens when we're stressed? We actually breathe into our chest. And when we breathe into our chest, what happens? Our shoulders rise, we become tense, and we become stressed. Right? And our breath will actually change before our body realizes when we're stressed. So what we need to do is become conscious of it, push the breath down into the belly, go into some coherence breathing, and that'll bring our nervous system down to the actual optimal state of like rest and digest in a really comfortable state where we are clear, we're calm, and we're going to make better decisions that way.
I like that, nervous system regulation. So we in our industry, we do this thing, we glorify the hustle. We're like, I'm so busy all day and this is great because I'm performing. But is high performance without recovery, is that a myth or is that sustainable?
I think that we have two sides of the hustle, right? Like we need to hustle. The reality is we got to hustle to build a business. Like there is a place for it, 100%. We have to get shit done. We have to get up. We got to get going. We've got to look at our business. We've got to go into that, you know, kind of masculine energy and look at things, right? And get it done. So there is a side for hustle, but for long periods of time where we burn ourselves out, that is not ideal. right? So we have to have a balance of the hustle, and we have to have a balance of the slowing down and the rest, because nothing good comes out of burnout.
Do you think that we rest well? You know, we talk about resting, but before we jumped on the podcast, I said to you, I take the time on the weekend sometimes to rest, but on Monday morning, I feel the same way. I feel a bit burnt out. It's like the rest didn't do anything.
So I think we all need to figure out, and there's a place of like when we're not very good at working out when we've burnt out. We wait till we've crashed. Okay. So we have to figure out what our actual burnout is, or when we feel it. Usually it's symptoms of sickness, right? Our body's going to tell us before anything. And we have to take the time to tune into that. So figure that out first, right? Now, putting in rest can be different for so many people, right? We get energy that gets stuck in our body, right? So rest can be, I'm not sure what it looks like for you on a weekend. You might be just laying down and doing nothing, which some people just think that is rest. But if you've got stagnant energy in your body, you're not sleeping enough, you are not eating good food, there's all these pillars of actual rest that need to come together for you to actually feel at your optimal, right? It's not just maybe not doing much and that's it, but we've got to look at all those pillars: food, sleep, and also stagnant energy that is stuck in the body. Or are we carrying things? And as therapists, you're picking up everything from everybody.
Yes.
Right? You got to get rid of that. Might sound a little woo-woo, but we got to, right? And no one really teaches you this when you're in a salon or early on in your career. And I feel like we actually did a bit of a blog on this at Timely as well, that we can also share, where we talked about, you know, protecting your energy, and, you know, but there are definitely things that we can do to get rid of energy in our body. And that, for me personally, is breath work, because that does allow us to move energy. And it's true, it gets stagnant. And that's where, like, maybe if there's any like practitioners out there listening, that's why we have Reiki and we have all these beautiful other modalities that you can do that will move these stagnant energies. And which is why sometimes we get pain in odd areas, back pain.
Right.
You might get leg pain. They all mean something.
So when you talk about stagnant energy, I always think to myself, energy is a good thing. Why not? Like, you know, but what do you mean by stagnant? Negative energy. So stagnant energy that's, you know, frustrated, nervous energy, things like that. You're talking about releasing that type of energy.
Correct. That's why exercise is really good too. Exercise helps us move energy. Our body is made up of energy, right? So we have to look after ourselves and move it, and also not hold on to it. So, without going too off track with some woo-woo-y things, but like, you know, lots of somatic practices. So, you know, shaking out between clients, moving that energy out, exercising in the mornings, looking after yourself also helps with energy moving through the body. You know, sighing also helps move through energy. So these things are like vibrational things that move through our body that help move energy and move it along. Think about if we laid in bed and didn't move, how shit do we feel?
Yeah, it's terrible. You know, it's funny you say, oh, I don't want to talk about woo-woo. It's the science has caught up with woo-woo, darling.
I know, I just...
it everywhere. You know, think about this. We've got parasympathetic sigh, which we know because Andrew Huberman has talked about it. And he's saying, you know, let go of, do this, you know, mechanical sigh, and you're actually resetting your nervous system. We know that we store cortisol and adrenaline, and the only way to get rid of that through your lymphatic system is shaking it out, or literally walking or doing some kind of energetic practice can move that through your body. So, I mean, I love everything you're saying, and I think there's so much science behind it. If you look at leading athletes, they do this, you know, they train really hard, and then their rest also incorporates movement, which is, you know, you think crazy, you just want to lie in bed all day and rest, but it's not like that. So if you're a practitioner, you're sitting there thinking, oh gosh, how am I going to have time to do, you know, my clients, run my business, and then do all these mindfulness practices? You know, if you're thinking about in a holistic setting, really, how can a practitioner use their time not just as a schedule that they run from client to client, but really as a tool to transform their personal body, but also their, treatment outcomes, their revenue and relationships as well.
Yeah, it's a really great question. And I think we don't want to go through and do everything all at once. It's not about that. It's like small changes make big differences, right? It can be the 5 minutes that you're taking in the morning. Like try, the way that you wake up in your day, I believe the way you start your day is how you set your day. And so, whether or not, if that's the small change that you want to do, if you are a practitioner out there, is making sure you get to work early, right? And then it's like, look at my day and set the intention for that day and spend 5 minutes of just doing some coherence breathing before your clients arrive, right? 5 minutes of coherence breathing makes you feel really good, right? You feel lighter, you feel ready, you feel focused.
Clear-headed.
Exactly. And popping breaks in, like utilize your booking system to put the breaks in, right? Set those breaks up. And I know a lot of us like to work. I mean, I also come from that like old school background where it's like, just book my client in, eat whenever I want. But those things catch up with you over the years. So popping your breaks in, making sure that that is your time for you. Pop the lunch breaks in, you can repeat your lunch breaks. You can always move it around, right? But at least you've committed to popping your lunch break in there.
Do you crave the freedom to do what you do best? From first booking to final payment, Timely is salon software that lets you run your day your way and helps you deliver an amazing client experience. As an ABIC member, you get 50% off for 3 months. Simply use the code ABIC and visit gettimely.com to start your 14-day free trial and take control of your day with Timely.
If you're listening to this, you're thinking, I'm taking time out of my day. I'm not going to be as productive. In actual fact, that white time gives you time to think, create, and actually have a more profitable outcome at the end of the day. And science shows this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's really, 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 really important to take care of you, especially if you're a solo, right? It's only you and your business. You've got no one else. When you fall sick, you got to move your whole day and then you got to push it out to another week and you're always playing that catch up, right? So if you are a solo that is struggling with your time management at the moment, right? There's so many factors that fall into this business being a profitable business, time being one of them. Second, are you charging enough? Third, making sure that you have your online bookings turned on, right? Your online bookings, there was a statistic that we had updated the other week. So 37% of online bookings are made outside business hours, right?
Oh.
So making sure you're not getting those DMs all the time of clients booking in. So that is going to save you time. Rebooking your clients so you know what your books look like and you've got that revenue that you're sort of predicting that you can see ahead. And so all of those things collectively, when you're organized and you've got things set up correctly, you feel proud in your business too. You're like, I feel good, I look good, my business is doing good, and everything just goes along how it should.
I love that. And when you were speaking, I was recalling, because I recently sold my clinics, I was recalling when teaching my team and seeing them when they're at their best and when they're rested, they actually, each client comes out with a better client experience. They walk out happier. They are more engaged. They are more likely to commit to, their own personal selves, which means, obviously they're looking at purchasing more packages or purchasing treatments so that they can feel, good in their own skin. It really ends up being this thing called purposeful profit. And that's really what we want. We don't want profit without purpose. We want to do what we do to help people, right? But we also want to have a flourishing business. So there is a balance between the two. And if you don't take that time to really reset, rest, and understand that time is your friend, you can use it in a really productive way. I think we get lost in chasing time all day. And when we're talking about chasing time, we've actually now got technological tools to be able to make time our friend rather than constantly having to battle it. And automation, and I never really understood the power of automation before I talked to Timely and yourself as well. But automation plays a huge role in preserving your schedule and everything, but also putting presence back in yourself so that you can be there wholly at the time and not thinking about what's next. So tell me a little bit about, what that role is in automation and how we can utilize it best.
Firstly, don't be scared of automation.
Well, I was a little.
I can relate to. Like, it genuinely, we feel when we've got control of everything, like we want to touch everything, we want to put our fingers on everything and make sure that we're controlling it. It's human nature, right? And it's usually, especially when it's just on us, that we got to get it done. You know what I mean? So automation is valid to be scared of, right? If you are scared, I hear you, I see you. It's so valid. But like, think about doing it so it works for you, right? And I think that's where the part is like, you know what? I'll use online bookings, for example. You can set up in Timely to approve the online booking. So you can turn your online bookings on, and when the booking comes through, you can still say yes or no, right? So that's one step closer to allowing, right? Rebooking reminders is like one of the best automations that I think honestly have ever been invented, because I always share this analogy. I have long showers. Like, I'm notorious. I have these like 20-minute showers, and I have a notepad that's in my shower because all my ideas come to me when I'm sitting in the shower.
Oh, goodness. You're not the only one.
Yeah, and I have this notepad and I write things down, and I'd always think of someone that I haven't seen for a while, like a client. Oh my God, you're like, what happened to such and such? When the hell did they come in? And then I'm like jump out of the shower, I'm going back in, seeing when they came back last, and you're panicking that maybe something happened. But if you turn rebooking reminders on, if they haven't rebooked, the system's going to recognize that they haven't rebooked, and it will send them a reminder in that period of that service. So like, just those little things free up your showered thoughts to think creative things of your clients, you know what I mean? And there's Timely businesses that when they turn those rebooking reminders on, they can actually add about $34,000 in revenue per year as a solo.
Wow.
Because you're not there to think about when you last saw your client or taking up those shower thoughts, for example. So having those as automation. So like, those are just like some small little changes that you can make to have your system work for you. And it's like, you can't just rely on your own brain to remember everything, and think about the client journey and what experience that they want to have as well. Because like, they don't really want to maybe get an Instagram DM at whatever time or a text message at 8 p.m. because you've like, oh, did you book in? Or we've just got to let the system do what it needs to do.
When I first understood about online bookings, we were terrified because we thought, oh goodness, we're going to have my diary's going to be a mess. The calendar's going to be a mess. People are going to book in, strange things, the wrong thing. I haven't got control. I won't be able to add 10 minutes if I need to. Actually, when you dive in, you realize you're still managing your calendar.
Yes.
You can still extend, you can still move down things a little bit, up a little bit, because you're always going to be in contact with your client. You always need to then confirm as well. Sometimes they want to reschedule as well. You do have control of your calendar. It just moves to a different way that you manage your calendar. So You're not making the initial booking, but you still have control over that booking. And it actually forces you to, I believe, look at your calendar in real time every day, so that you can actually, spot any mistakes or any things that you need to change. It makes you more in tune, if anything else, because when you make an appointment, you set and forget because you've done it. And it forces you to look over the calendar and see opportunities as well and plan your day. And I think that's wonderful. I mean, you've worked with so many top tier clinics and salons and spas. I would love to pick your brain right now. What patterns do you see that those people have built, and not just a profitable business, but a really sustainable business that, I admire these people. I'd really love to know some secrets.
Yeah, look, I think when I look at the best businesses that have really allowed technology into their business, number one, first of all, is like making sure that they have like service descriptions. They dumb it down for a consumer, right? The service descriptions in there, and it is no fancy words. It is a simple what the facial is and how the person is going to feel when they leave. Actually, funny story, I went and had my eyebrows tinted for the first time in my life last week, and I didn't know what I booked in for because it had a fancy word, and I was I don't know what that is. I didn't know what a hybrid brow was. No idea. Like why would I know what that is? Like genuinely, right? And I was like, no idea. And there was like 3 different types of brow services. So I booked in for the longest one, hoping that I booked in. And then when I got there, I said to her, I'm so sorry, like, what is a hybrid brow? And she's like, explained it. Oh, it's more on the skin. I was like, oh God, that sounds cool. Okay, cool. But then I was like, you need to go back in and add your descriptions and actually explain it. She's like, oh my God, thank you so much for telling me. But yeah, the businesses that do really well have clear descriptions. Everything's clear. It looks so good. It's like you click it, the client books in, they leave their deposit, and they have thought out their client journey, right? And their client journey is the personality of their business, and they follow up with their clients. That is what I see, like our longest standing, like our clinics that have been with Timely forever, that really, really thought about that process and think about it and tweak it if they need to as well. Because I think we also got to remember when we're business owners, things change. Our customer might change. Our ideal customer might change. Like, and who are we targeting? Like, those things start to change too over time, right? Maybe you've changed clinics and you're a different area. Maybe you've got more mums coming in. Like, think about those things. And are you speaking to those customers? And I think they're those salons that do so, so well. They're also, investing in their teams. And what does investing in your team really look like? I don't know. Ask your staff. Like,
oh, I love that.
Yeah, like out with your team, spend time with them. I think back to the best salons that I've worked in were the ones that took the time to like sit with me and know about me and what my plans were, and I was at the AHC event a couple of weeks ago, and someone I can't remember which salon it was, but she said that she actually helps her team understand how to save money, and like they have a goal for a home or house, she'll actually help them like get there. And I was like, I genuinely was like, that is the most beautiful thing to actually, that's taking care of your staff. And a lot of salon owners that have done really well have done well financially and have successful businesses and, have done really well with property and all these kinds of things. So it's not always about what's going on in the salon. It's like, how are you going to support your staff outside of that salon?
I love that. It's just so important. And we were not thinking about that 10, 15 years. When I was in business, obviously more recently I did start to do practices like that in my business, but we weren't thinking that way as business owners 15 years ago, and times have changed, and that's the level of support that our team really need and really want. It's challenging times these days, hard to buy a house. It's hard to afford things. But it's funny that you talk about evolving by reaching out and asking for feedback. Even with your clients, you sit there thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to now change my descriptions? Or how am I going to come up with my descriptions? Or how am I going to come up with my packages? Or what do my clients want to see? And you kind of sit there lost trying to think of it yourself. Ask your clients.
Yeah, or a friend.
Yes.
Ask a guy. Like, I know this. Like, go so far out of what the norm is, right? Get your trainee mate, like, to read it, like,
do you understand this?
Like, simple things like that. And I think too, as we're sort of talking about these successful businesses, and something I'll just share that I've been following really heavily is the global wellness beauty industry right now is like
Yes.
evolving, right? And we're seeing all of these high-end hotel spas converting into like wellness spaces.
Yeah.
And it's literally projected to be like a $1.4 trillion industry by 2028.
Correct.
So if you're sitting in your business right now and you're finding that you want to add anything to any of your services or anything like that, I would be really closely watching what's happening overseas with these hotel spas, because I think what's going to happen with a lot of the industry, the hair and beauty industry, is we're going to see a really big shift in people really knowing, like, A, what's going on their skin, what's in the product. We've seen that shift. Like everyone's very like cautious, and our clients are coming in with like more information than ever before about ingredients.
Thanks to the friendly little apps that are out there that
Correct.
think that they can diagnose skincare. Of course, that's
Exactly.
just marketing themselves. Like that, the app is marketing itself. It's very incorrect most of the time.
Exactly. So it's like, what else in your business can you add on to this whole wellness experience of your clients? We have like one of our beautiful customers, she does these beautiful breath work before the massage, like, and I didn't know that she did that, but she's like specializes in like these beautiful lymphatic massages and like just these like little touches, and it's like, that's amazing. Like that's thinking about the wellness side of how that customer is actually going to relax in your chair. And so yeah, like people care about wellness and longevity more than ever before. There was a hotel over in Ibiza that's like pivoted the whole hotel into like IV drips and biological age reports.
Yes.
And I was just like, that is so cool. Like that's stuff that we really want to know and care about. So it's like, think about the services that you are offering as we are in challenging times. And I do feel for the beauty community, right? Because like you guys offer such skill, such beautiful services, but it's also one of the first things that people start to look at when they're re-looking at their budgets, right? Like, can I keep affording to come in and have that every 6 week facial? But maybe it's like, what are we doing about the stress of that client? Like, is there anything that we can help to, aid that and that experience? Because yeah, we're living in a more stressed society, even though we have more tools and more education around it. We'll slowly start to pivot that. But, the successful businesses are those ones that are looking at not just beauty, but like wellness and a whole, this word is overused, holistic approach, but that's just what it is, than ever before. And they're really nurturing their teams and their staff, and they're helping their staff more outside of just the salon,
So what I'm hearing is successful businesses look to the future as well as the present to see what can they do to grow and change and adapt their business. And the thing is, if you're not growing, adapting, changing, you're stagnant. Time is moving ahead and you're not catching up with it. And, you wake up a year later going, how did the industry just change and how am I so far behind? That is typically the definition of being in a reactive mindset. You're there, you're in your business, you're not on your business. You're worrying about your client that day, but you're not worrying about taking out time to say, well, what does my business look like? What does my client look like in a year's time? What is this invisible tax of operating in this reactive mindset constantly? What could happen to us personally and our businesses?
Well, first of all, we'll go into burnout and we'll hate our job.
Let's do it.
And I think it kind of comes back to always that why part. Like, always remember your why, always. Like, write it everywhere. I have a whiteboard right now that's here, and I have all these quotes, and I look at it every day, and I absorb it, right? And I remind myself why I do what I do every day. Okay. So whether or not you stick something in your car or whatever that is, remember your why, because you cannot operate in this industry without loving what you do. It's how your business will start to trickle down. You don't take responsibility for your turnover, you're burnt out, you're all those things. So Always, always. And if you can't find it, right, and if you're not sure, and you start thinking about it and start connecting with some other businesses and, get into a bit more of a community, right, to unpack it. Because sometimes you've never known why you've fallen into something, you've never really thought about it. So it's okay if you don't know it, right? But think about it. And then let that be your driver in always your business and your decisions and everything that you're doing. And then when you're burnt out, you can go back to that why. But if that changes, right, which it's okay if it does, right? We evolve and we change as humans. Figure out what it is that you need, because the cost of burning out is the cost of your business.
It makes so much sense. When you're burnt out, it's not because you're doing too much. Our bodies are designed to do. We can work from morning till night. We can work hard too. I mean, think about people who have a physical job, a laborer all day, or somebody that, trains all day, or something like that. It's not the physical doing that burns us out, right? It's the mental disalignment. It's your fact that you're not in alignment with your why all day. So everything that you do seems like a strain rather than something to upbuild you.
Exactly. If you're not passionate about what you do and it's just a job, right? Some people can operate just doing their job and they're okay with it because they might be having their cup filled somewhere else.
Right.
Because we have these buckets. We have these different buckets of where we love. We can have multiple passions and multiple loves, right? But we only have, if you think about our body is 100%, we can put percents in those different buckets. But for this industry, right, you genuinely need to have quite a high percent in that bucket to show up every day.
I agree.
Service to others, right? And that percent might look different. Like you might be a working mum, right? And 50% of that goes into that bucket of your job. And then the other 50% is like sitting with your family. But if you start to take away from one of those buckets, like something has to give. And I also feel like some of those larger salons out there that are doing it really well, they're helping the percent of the buckets with their staff giving out the percent, like it's leveraging and leaning on other people to help. And so like if you are in that mindset right now where you're maybe a solo and you're sitting at maybe 30% in your business bucket and you're questioning everything that you're doing in your why, go back and really think about, like, can you put any more percent in that? Is there any more percent of your human energy and body can that go into that? And I think it's a really clever way to look at your different buckets. It's like a good exercise. Our friend that we spoke about earlier before, Diary of the CEO, has a really good way. I think in his book, he really explains some of those buckets and the percents.
You know what? I actually want to read that book too. There's so many. Do you have any other recommendations? I'm nearly through, so I'm going to read that one, and I'm nearly through Dr. David Sinclair's book as well. But I think there's another one that I'm interested in reading, which is Tony Robbins' Life Force. There's a whole bunch of books out there that can help you realign your mental, physical, work life and private life together to create a beautiful, sort of well-rounded, you love that word, holistic existence where you're not just living to work or working so you can live, and I think it's about this mental clarity, using your time. Everything we've talked about today is so much gold in there. I'm going to go and do my conscious breathing. And I think I'm going to do it before my meetings now,
Coherent breathing. Yeah. So
yes, coherent breathing, not conscious breathing.
Breathing. Yeah.
You know who somebody did that for the first time ever? I had a meeting with Kirsty Sinclair. She is actually helping ABIC with marketing. And we had a meeting and she said, do you mind if we did a couple of minutes? She said, put your hands over your eyes and let's do some breathing before this meeting. And I just looked at her and I thought, for starters, wow, okay, this is new. But I tell you what, we had such a productive meeting straight afterwards. It was a bit strange in the beginning, but when she did it, I thought, gosh, I've never had anyone start a meeting like that before. And imagine we all did that. Imagine we all just took that time to do the breath work before, and it's a mental reset so you can be really present there. There are so many people right now listening to this because we actually get, I looked at our listens, we're up to 360,000 listens. So It's pretty great for a, industry podcast that doesn't really get much marketing around it. So thank you so much for everyone for listening. But the people out there are listening thinking, I'm overwhelmed, I'm running on fumes. They're talking about this thing I don't have time to do. You've seen it happen because you've worked with other people. So it's not a myth. You can reclaim your time and reclaim yourself. What would you say to the people as we end this podcast that are listening there running on fumes?
Coherence breathing, number one. In for 5, out for 5,
yes.
through your nose, and it will change how you feel. Number 2, really look at your circle of people and who you're surrounded by, right? Make sure that, you're leveraging all of your friendships and people around you to help support you in those next stages of your business goals. And number 3, we're here to help at Timely too. Like, I also want to shout that out. Like, we've got some really cool things. We've opened up some Zoom sessions now with our team that are doing like live questionnaires. So if you have questions, reach out. My DMs are also always open on Instagram. Like, reach out. We are here to help. Like, I love hearing from people that just need a little bit of extra help. We have our community. Like we talked about earlier, we're so disconnected, but we're so connected. You can contact anyone on Instagram. Like, you can slide into people's DMs, and we're living in a world where people can respond. If you've got someone that you idolize out there, like, you usually can DM them and you'll probably get something back, right? So utilize those things around, and you're not alone in any parts of the business journey that you are on, or your healing journey, or wherever you're at. There will be someone out there that can relate. And I think that's the power of vulnerability as well, that we just share, and there's someone out there that can help support you on whatever stage of your journey you're at.
I love that. People, we need other people. Let's try to get ourselves a little bit more connected, because in talking about how we're feeling overwhelmed and perhaps trying to seek solutions from people that are trusted in our circle, we can find solutions to these things that we're experiencing. I think, Sherri, thank you so much for coming and talking to us about this today. Such an important topic, and we really, really love and appreciate the support that Timely give the industry, because obviously we are a not-for-profit industry body, and what we do most of the time, apart from the times we're on these podcasts, trying to create material to support our industry, is we advocate for our industry, and your membership helps us do that for the wonderful professionals out there that really need our support and help with the government advocacy, with all of the initiatives that we do, which is, ranges from education to regulation and beyond. So thank you so much for your support, Sherri, and thank you so much for coming on this podcast today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone for listening.
You've reached the end of another episode of the ABIC Podcast, your online support community for the aesthetic and beauty industry. Thank you for listening, and until next time, stay connected.